Part 108. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1079. After spending 3 days, Sutingyu and the 4 of them came up with a more reliable plan. First, Gucci and Shanyu also joined the patrol team, and then formed a team with Sutingyu. Later, I applied for a support staff member, that is, Fatty. This plan was also thought up by Sutingyu and the other 4 after studying the internal rules of the United Society. Because in the relatives column, all 4 of them filled in their relatives, so it was normal for them to want to apply for the same team. However, during these 3 days, Sutingyu still had no news from Qinchi. In addition, the United Society also caught many players who exposed their identities. On the 4th day, Sutingyu and the other 4 were finally able to leave the United Society in an upright manner. Following the directions on the map, it took nearly 4 days of journey before we finally approached the suspected trail of life. Sutingyu looked outside through the car window. Is this right here? In front of us is a large sea of garbage. The piles of garbage are like hills, stretching endlessly and connected to each other in lines, forming a garbage maze. In the garbage mountain, there is also a garbage lake. The water in this lake is black, with a layer of greasy engine oil floating on the surface, and the depth of the lake cannot be seen clearly. It's so big here. Is this how humans in this world deal with garbage? Just throw away garbage. The fat man fiddled with the computer. But after entering here, there seems to be some inexplicable magnetic field interference, and instruments such as computers gradually become laggy. There is an inexplicable magnetic field here. The further you go inside, the stronger the magnetic field becomes. Any high-tech instruments will not work, and it is easy to get lost in it. After the fat man finished explaining, he handed the computer to Sutingyu. Sutingyu put the computer into the storage ring. Everyone knows that there is a magnetic field, so the computer cannot be scrapped in vain. So this place, because it is a place that humans in this world cannot explore, has been classified as a place suspected of being a trail of life, Shanyu said with some surprise in his tone. Can such a place with piles of garbage and serious pollution really be a sign of life? According to the literal meaning, the trace of life is likely to be some kind of key that can save the current wasteland world. Not only player missions require it. Human beings in this wasteland world need its presence even more. At this time, the car suddenly stalled and stopped. Gucci, who was in the driver's seat, tried several times, but the car didn't respond. Gucci said quietly, "Get off the car and walk." Outrageous. Sutingyu jumped out of the car and complained, "Even the car will be affected." "Fat man, can this car be saved?" The fat man took a few glances and said, "I don't know. I won't know until I take it out." Hearing this, Sutingyu put his hand on the car. The next second, the car was put back into the storage bag. Gucci summoned his pet beast, and the big white cat became bigger and more majestic. Gucci and the 3 of them got on their mounts. Sutingyu chose to use his professional talent and flew into the air to survey the terrain. "Lulu, come out for a moment." After flying into the air, Sutingyu woke up Lucifer, who was still sleeping inside the death blade. Sutingyu asked, "Do you feel any difference here?" After Lucifer came out, he sat on Sutingyu's shoulder. "Well, this place is indeed a bit strange." Lucifer looked at the surrounding situation and wrinkled his nose. "I don't like it here. Greed and malice can never be enough. The world has become riddled with holes. Being a bug in a survival game." Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1080. On the horizon, a mushroom cloud exploded. Then, a series of machine gun shots accompanied by sparks of bright light flashed among the numerous mountains of garbage. Several figures quickly passed through the garbage mountain, constantly dodging bombs that fell from the sky from time to time. "Let's go. Damn it, you actually carried out a sneak attack. What world is this player from?" It's too crazy. Disband the team, what should we do? Several people were all disgraced and hiding behind the garbage pile to hide their figures. The other world players on the opposite side were still using range heat weapons, and they were unable to take the lead. The leader, Siepuiu, couldn't help but curse her in her heart. Originally, there were about 20 people in their team who went to investigate a forbidden place that was suspected to be a trace of life. But it was too dangerous there, and half of the people were killed. No clues about traces of life were found. When several people were frustrated, they encountered a group of heavily armed players from another world. The focus of normal players is to find traces of life, but the players from other worlds they encountered now seemed to completely ignore the mission and only care about killing people for fun. Ha 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 ha. Rats! Get out of here. We'll blast you to death. Blast you to death. The alien players on the opposite side did not take cover at all. They carried various thermal weapons in their hands. When they saw any movement, they immediately covered them with firepower. Just when Siepuiu was thinking of a way to escape, another accident happened. Disband, look over there. In another direction, more than a dozen figures appeared on the ground. They were all covered in cloaks made of white cloth. They were completely wrapped up and down. Even their hair was not visible, only their faces were exposed. The hands of those people were holding a small cross-shaped coffin box with chains and talismans wrapped around it. That's church personnel. Siepuiu's face changed. No, let's go. After these days, Siepuiu also knew a thing or two about the church organization in the wasteland world. Church personnel believe in the new god. At the beginning, some players wanted to use game props and game abilities to pretend to be gods to defraud church personnel for help. But then things turned upside down. The players were listed as danger factors by the church. What's more, a notice was suddenly issued inside the church, claiming that the players were the last obstacle to the coming of the new god and that all players must be eradicated. New god will come. So much so that now, every player has a narrow escape when encountering a church. The church personnel possess strange divine powers that are hard to guard against. In the blink of an eye, they are killed instantly without even knowing what happened. Boom! A bomb was suddenly thrown at Siepuiu's feet. The next second, the bomb exploded. A light shield lit up around Siepuiu, directly blocking the shockwave of the bomb explosion. And this bomb was undoubtedly thrown by those players from other worlds. Disband the team. There is a wolf in front and a tiger in the back. It's a bit difficult. The teammates around Siepuiu also started to have difficulties. Siepuiu cursed lowly and shouted, "Have we not been contacted yet? Are there any other Miracle Red players nearby? Please contact them all." Already in contact, no reply yet. Siepuiu replaced herself with a new passive defense item. The original defense item had been used up. In that case, let's lead those alien players to the church personnel. Siepuiu took out a bomb from the inventory and threw it in the direction of the church personnel. A few seconds later, there was a bang. There were black marks on the ground, but the church personnel were unscathed. Go that way, Siepuiu pointed to a direction where there were no other world players or church personnel. Siepuiu and his men quickly broke through the encirclement under the cover of the garbage mountain. Where to run? A player from another world discovered the clue and shouted. At this time, the church personnel over there also arrived. After seeing the alien players and Siepuiu and the others, they went directly to take action. It's a church. Kill them. At this time, the dozens of players from other worlds also discovered the church personnel. There were only about a dozen church personnel in sight, so I chose to confront them directly. On the other side, Siepuiu and the others were chased by 7 or 8 church personnel. Run faster, don't even stop. Siepuiu occasionally looked back, but the church staff were still walking leisurely. However, the distance between the two is getting closer and closer. Damn it! Seeing that the distance was getting closer and closer, Siepu and others also gave up escaping and prepared to fight. Disband, there seems to be someone coming over there too. At this time, one of the team members shouted nervously. What the hell? So unlucky. Siepu turned around and looked over, only to find that it was just a silhouette. It's too far away and can't see clearly. But at this time, the church personnel who were about to attack Siepu and the others turned around and left without any warning. This disbandment, why did they leave? It's strange. I haven't heard of any church personnel letting our players go. The sudden evacuation of the church personnel made Siepu and others a little confused. But the crisis seems to be resolved. The figure walking in the distance gradually became clearer. Is a man. He was holding a very conspicuous ancient bronze sword. When Siepu saw the face of the visitor clearly, she was a little surprised. It's you. Qin Chi glanced at Jipu. It's someone da you knows. So, he asked, have you seen any big fish? Siepu shook her head, no. Hearing this, Qin Chi wanted to turn around and leave. Seeing that Qin Chi was leaving, Siepu quickly said, however, I do have news about her here. Where is she? Qin Chi paused, turned around and asked again. Siepu sighed, the wasteland world is too big. This is the church's sphere of influence, and dead fish is within the United Society's sphere of influence. If you want to go there, you will have to walk for at least 2 months. If you encounter someone on the way, if there is any trouble, it will waste even more time. She has the ability to protect herself. The top priority is to find traces of life so that she can end this round of dungeons. Every second of delay, players are dying. Qin Chi was silent for a moment, and then asked, then do you have any clues about the traces of life? Siepu coughed dryly, I just stepped on a thunderstorm, and now I have ruled out a location that is suspected to be a trace of life. There are many. 8. At this time, Siepu took out the communication phone and smiled immediately when she saw the new message sent on it. I was wrong, it was 5, and the other 3, other teams went to step on the thunder. The closest one to us, is to the south. Siepu extended an invitation, how about it? Do you want to come with us? Qin Chi nodded, yes. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1081. Congratulations to the players in the PL world for finding the trace of life. Congratulations to all the surviving players in the PL world for successfully clearing the grand competition copy. All players in the world will be sent out of the copy in 10 seconds. Traces of life discovered, 1/12. Has any player found the trace of life? We have to speed up the progress too. Quick, quick. Move. The panel system, which had been silent for a long time, issued an announcement. The trace of life has been found. Players who had not found the trace of life were shocked and confused when they saw this announcement. At present, most players don't even understand what the trace of life is, but now one of the 12 promotion places is gone. This can't help but give the remaining players a sense of urgency. At the same time, Sutingyu and his party, who were exploring the suspected trace of life location, accelerated their exploration after receiving the news. Sutingyu and Lucifer returned to the big army. This shouldn't be a sign of life, it's just a very serious source of pollution. Sutingyu looked at Gucci and the others and said. Gucci, how to determine? Sutingyu turned to look at Lucifer. The latter seemed to be used to the shrunken state, or was too lazy to fly in the air, so he sat on Sutingyu's shoulders. I understand the general situation of the trace of life you are looking for. Lucifer's pale golden eyes glanced lightly and glanced at several people. This world is too dirty and the poisoning is too deep. The trace of life may be one of the few pure lands preserved in this world. Or the origin of the world. The humans here have been looking for it for so long, but they haven't found it yet. The humans here should have checked out the suspected points you are looking for. The implication is that it is not feasible to investigate suspected points now. Most likely it will just be a waste of time. One of the 12 promotion places is already missing. Sutinyu found nothing here, and he had only just begun to explore. But players in other worlds may have already made a fortune silently. Gucci asked, then what good idea do you have? Sutinyu released this god, so he couldn't just let it go, right? Lucifer gently shook his short legs. Since it is called a sign of life, then there will be life around it, which is very different from other places with serious pollution. Human beings generally stand at the top of the pyramid of the biological chain. Sometimes, they will ignore the insignificant weeds at their feet or the bugs that can be killed with a slap. But those weak lives, at certain moments, are very important. Of keenness. You can go and find out where there are plants and where the plants grow well. Hearing this, Sutinyu's eyes brightened slightly. That's right. Along the way, Sutinyu and the others only saw desolation, as well as industrial and domestic garbage everywhere. I have never seen any grass or ordinary small animals. Except within the United Society, which has a special area for breeding animals and plants, there is almost no trace of natural green in the wasteland world outside. Sutinyu took out the computer from the storage ring and handed it to the fat man. Fat man, check it out. There was a lot of information taken out from the United Society, and the map of the wasteland world, such an important and basic information. Fatty must have copied it. Okay, boss, give me some time. Nowadays, several people are far away from the source of pollution. The fat man is sitting on the car seat with the car door open, with the computer on his knees and his fingertips typing quickly on the keyboard. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 1082. The fat man pressed the last enter key, his eyes lit up, and he said to several people, found it. Hearing this, several people looked relaxed. Just have a goal. I'm afraid that I'm like a headless fly, wandering around everywhere. But it's far away from us. If we go there by car, it will probably take several months. The fat man gradually frowned. After hearing this, the relaxed expressions on several people's faces disappeared again. A few months is too long. God knows. When Sutinyu and the others rush over in a few months, will anything happen? If other players from other worlds get there first during this period, then they will have wasted their efforts and traveled such a long distance. Gucci asked, can you determine the specific location? The fat man nodded, okay. Let's do this, Fatty. You send this orientation information to other Blue Star players in that direction and let them pass it on one by one. The communicator is a dead object and has a limited communication distance. But human wisdom can unleash infinite possibilities. That's a good idea. The fat man nodded immediately and was about to pass on the information when Shan Yu stopped him. Wait a minute. If we pass it on one by one like this, what if the information is leaked? Don't forget. Shan Yu paused, glanced at Gucci beside him, and continued, don't forget that Chu Xinyu, she is from Yin Yang Star, but she stays in Blue Star. With Lan participate in this big fight as a star player. Who knows, there will be other players from other worlds secretly infiltrating the Blue Star players. Shan Yu has never been stingy in speculating others with the greatest malice. People's hearts are far apart, and who can know whether the person standing in front of him is a human or a ghost? When Sutinyu heard this, he suggested, only pass it on to the official Miracle Red members to minimize the risk of leakage as much as possible. Gucci, okay. Sutinyu thought for a while and mentioned a few game names to Fatty. So far, Sutingyu had only seen Siepwu and Yewuxia, who were not members of the order, in the dungeon, and had barely seen the rest of them. Sutingyu could not guarantee that the entire Miracle Red members were not defective at all, but she could be sure that other members who were also non-order members were completely trustworthy. Furthermore, non-order members are more capable, and it would be safer if they were to explore the place that was suspected of being a trace of life. Okay, boss, I'll pass the information on right now. Fatty wrote down these game names, and along with the location information, sent it to the members of Miracle Red. In this way, this precious piece of information was passed on to one Blue Star player after another. Dear brothers and sisters of Blue Star, we have found a piece of azimuth information that is suspected of being a trail of life, but it is too far away from our location. Therefore, brothers and sisters, please pass this information to the northeast, and the brothers and sisters who are closest to the azimuth information guys, please take a trip to verify the authenticity of this trace of life. Angel Su, Chin Chi, wandering south and north, he, and Single Beauty stay. The Miracle Red members who received this message were all surprised. Angel Su? Is she the unruly ant? Chin Chi, he seems to be that guy with terrifying strength. Huh? This is Sing's boss, Guju from the capital. Holy crap. Beauty Shan seems to be that big star named Shan Yu, right? I'm her fan. After a brief moment of surprise, everyone followed the instructions and passed the message to their compatriots in the Northeast. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 1083. Boss, send it out. Walk. After the message was sent, Sutingyu and others did not sit still and wait for death. Instead, they immediately set off in the car and raced against time to get there. 2 days later, an off-road vehicle was parked outside several demon corpses on the hill. A tall woman with short hair leaned against the car. The flame of the lighter lit the end of the cigarette with a whoosh. The short-haired woman took a puff of the cigarette, opened her lips slightly, and slowly exhaled circles of white smoke. It's like a certain state of ecstasy after smoking a cigarette. Huh? This is... At this time, the communicator on the short-haired woman's waist received a new message. She took out the communicator and pressed the screen to light up. Is it from Xiao? The short-haired woman raised her eyebrows slightly. Not bad. The little girl who only liked to rely on brute force to solve everything but didn't like to use her brain seems to have grown up. The location of this direction, it's a coincidence, it's quite close to me. Lin Wuxia chuckled lightly, then used the communicator with his backhand to transmit a message. Go over there and have a look. After the message was sent, Lin Wuxia stepped on the accelerator. The modified off-road vehicle looked like a roaring beast in the wasteland. With a bang, the giant beast flew out. Run towards the direction where the message came from as fast as possible. It took another 2 days of sending back and forth messages. The content of the message sent by Lin Wuxia appeared on Sutingyu's communicator. Understood, waiting, Lin Wuxia. The moment Sutingyu saw the message, his eyes widened. Wow. It's the boss. What's wrong, boss? Sutingyu's exclamation aroused the curiosity of Gucci and the other three. Moreover, they were very surprised by the boss Sutingyu called him. He is the team leader of our special department, and he is also the person in charge of Miracle Red. Sutingyu laughed out loud with a hee look on his face. It's safe now. The boss is here to take action. When he heard that it was the person in charge of Miracle Red, Gucci's eyes darkened. That person. Although Gucci had no direct contact with that person, he had some familiarity with him. I heard it's a woman. Very powerful. Seeing Sutingyu again with a relaxed expression that said this wave is stable, Gucci felt a little relieved. The car is out of gas, let's stop and rest for a while. The fat man looked at the gas gauge and suggested to a few people. Good. After the fat man stopped the car, he filled up the car with gas and then set up the barbecue grill. Sutinyu took out the ingredients and handed them to Gucci, then sat aside and stared at them eagerly. Suck. Just when the barbecue skewers were ready, Sutinyu was about to take the skewers handed over by Gucci, when the panels of the 4 people suddenly popped up. Congratulations to the players in Blue Star World for finding the trace of life. Congratulations to all the surviving players in the Blue Star World for successfully clearing the grand competition instance. All players in this world will be teleported out of the instance in 10 seconds. Traces of life discovered, 2/12. Sutinyu was slightly stunned, and subconsciously looked at Gucci and the others. At this time, the 3 people were also very surprised. Is this mission accomplished? Or is it Blue Star? The surprise came too suddenly. When Sutinyu realized what he was doing, he said to the fat man in a hurry, "Quick, quick, quick. Pack your things. Don't leave anything behind." "Oh, okay, boss." "Woohoo, it's a pity that her barbecue hasn't even been eaten yet." With a wave of her hand, Sutinyu put everything that the fat man and the other 3 couldn't fit into his storage ring. 10 seconds passed quickly. All Blue Star players in the Wasteland dungeon were teleported out at the same time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1084. Where is this? Why didn't you return to the settlement space? Hiss, what the hell is this place? Didn't you say you have completed the mission and cleared the level? When Sutinyu opened her eyes, she found that she had not returned to the settlement space, but had arrived at a strange square. There were hundreds of Blue Star players in the square, and everyone was confused at this time. Sutinyu looked around, but when she looked up, she was stunned. At this time, other Blue Star players also noticed something strange above. Oh no! This is the starry sky. No, no. It seems like outer space. Where on earth have we come? They were all veteran players who had completed countless rounds of dungeons. No one acted rashly until they understood the situation. Now, everyone seems to be in a square suspended in the air, and the world outside the square looks more and more like outer space that no one has ever set foot on. At this time, Sutinyu heard 2 familiar voices. "Boss." "Sutinyu." Sutinyu turned around and saw Gucci and Fatty approaching. But Shan Yu was not seen. But being able to see the 2 of them, Sutinyu breathed a sigh of relief. "How are you? Are you okay?" "Gucci, it's okay." The fat man also waved his hand. "It's just that we didn't see Shan Xing, nor did we see Brother Qin. Right now, what is the situation?" The fat man scratched his head, puzzled. "Is it some special copy? There are hundreds of people here. I just took a quick look. There are not only players with Eastern faces, but also white people and black people." Gucci said aloud, "When I just passed by, I checked the panel information of some people. Many of them are players who are at the top of the world player list." Sutinyu frowned. "Are they all elite players?" Thinking of this, Sutinyu and Gucci subconsciously looked in the direction of the fat man. "Gucci, did you enter something by mistake?" Sutinyu, isn't that a bad way to put it?" Gucci, then calm down your obvious expression. Sutinyu, cough cough cough. Hey, 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 the fat man was a little unconvinced. Boss, how about you guys talk about it in private? Are you going to hurt me in front of me? Sutinyu smiled sheepishly, he. No matter what, let's find someone first. Gucci's face was calm, as if the person who just made eye contact was not him. Good. There were only a few hundred players in the square. Sutingyu and the other two people searched around and found a lot of acquaintances. Gucci saw Chibubi and several members of Seeing. And Sutingyu actually met Lingju and other non-order members. After a brief period of confusion, the remaining players, as long as they had familiar friends, gathered together. Sutingyu and the others searched around, but did not see Qin Chi and Shan Yu. The fat man scratched his head. It seems that brother Qin and Shan Xing are not here. Xiao Yu and Shui Shui are not here either, Lingju added to Sutingyu in a low voice. At present, Lingju has not left the game, and the original voice problem has been temporarily repaired. The voice of a normal adult male has become the voice of a normal adult male without the milky voice. Gucci's eyes fell on a somewhat familiar non-order member wearing a grey sun hat, and his eyes narrowed slightly. You are the one in France barbecued pork buns beating dogs. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 1085. Ahem. Seeing that he was recognized, Char Su straightened up and touched his nose sheepishly. Nice to meet you, Mr. Guju, I've admired your name for a long time. I'm sorry for my poor eyesight that day. I hope you have a lot of them, so don't be offended. Sutingyu's suspicious gaze fell on the barbecued pork. Have you seen it? Originally, little Herrick, who was being grabbed by the barbecued pork and hiding behind, suddenly came to his senses. No wonder, barbecued pork, you just hesitated and didn't want to come over. Gucci's voice was slightly cold. I've seen him abroad. This guy deserves a beating. Char Su tried to explain. Ahem, we can't get to know each other if we don't fight, and we can't get to know each other if we don't fight. He. Hearing this, Sutingyu asked curiously, have you ever fought? Who wins? Chibubi, who had been silent all this time, sighed softly in his heart, and then spoke to ease the atmosphere. Now is not the time to talk about this. It won't be too late to talk after we get out. The last words were spoken to Gucci. Gucci looked cold and had no objection. If this person wasn't Sutingyu's friend, he would have taken action long ago without having to argue with him. Gucci was the first to change the subject. Have you noticed that, except for Fatty, most of the players gathered here are relatively good at fighting? Hey, it's really true. Sutingyu blinked. Xiao Yu and Shui Shui's abilities are more auxiliary, and they are not here. But why isn't Kikai here? Kikai is not weak either. But the boss is not here either, Lingju added silently. We were able to clear the dungeon so quickly because the boss made the last move. Sutingyu, then where are they now? Have they returned to the real world? Or are they like us, trapped somewhere, but they can't see each other? Several people were guessing when they suddenly heard a player exclaiming. Someone is coming. Outside the square. The attention of all the players was attracted, wanting to find out. Above the square, a whirlpool door appeared, and 5 figures flew out of it. Among the 5 figures, there was one Eastern face and 4 Western faces, all of different ages. Some were young and handsome, and some were white-haired. In addition, the clothes these people wear are also very weird. 5 people, wearing clothes from different centuries. The identity of the visitor was unknown, and none of the players acted rashly, but they all looked at these 5 people warily. Among them, the young man wearing a white coat and an oriental face looked around and said to the players. Presumably, you are all very curious and confused at this time, right? For example, my identity. Why do you appear here? And what is here? Or, why did Parallel Paradise appear? As soon as the statement came out, it caused an uproar among the players. Are you, the administrator of the game? A player asked tentatively. During the first copy of the open beta, all players had seen a group of mysterious administrators in the Parallel Paradise. The man smiled lightly. Administrator. You can also call me the administrator, but the administrators I have met with you have another identity. I am the Blue Star Administrator. What? Everyone was surprised. Blue Star, Administrator. This blockbuster news undoubtedly dropped a powerful bomb among the players, making everyone unable to react. For a long time, Blue Star players have felt that they were passively involved in this survival game of racing against death. But now, someone told them, he is the administrator of Blue Star. Apparently, he is still an insider. Or even, the initiator of the game. Are you from Blue Star? A Blue Star player from China asked. Because this mysterious man who claimed to be the Blue Star administrator looked like someone from the Eastern Celestial Dynasty, and when he spoke, the panel did not automatically translate his language. In other words, this person speaks pure Chinese language. He might even be from China. Why? Among the crowd, someone asked with a serious look on his face. Why is there this survival game in a parallel paradise? Why are all of us forced to get involved in it? Why do we face the threat of death all the time? Why are our relatives, lovers, and friends, all involved in it? Even the yin and yang are separated. Why was the home we depended on for survival destroyed overnight? We are completely like playthings being played in a parallel paradise. We have no freedom or human rights at all. Why? The questions were like blood-stained swords, stabbing the Blue Star administrator sharply and directly. The rest of the players present, more or less, have people they care about. They may have died quietly in the closed beta, they may have been frozen to death unconsciously in their sleep, or they may not be able to stand the torture of the game in parallel paradise and chose to give up. My precious life. Yes. Why? Why? The Blue Star administrator fell silent, but these questions were as expected. After a few seconds, he looked at everyone again. I'm sorry. Everyone was stunned. Feel sorry? Is this still the game administrator that everyone remembers as being aloof, like watching a bunch of clowns struggling? I'm sorry, I'm also from Blue Star. The Blue Star administrator paused, and there seemed to be some kind of reminiscence in his expression, at least, it used to be. I know you have a lot of doubts and confusions in your hearts. However, there are so many players in Blue Star. The reason why they chose you to stand here is not just to let you vent. Next, I will tell you one by one, the truth about Parallel Paradise. Everyone present was an elite player, and the emotional breakdown only lasted a moment, and they quickly recovered. Right now, they can't wait to learn more facts from the Blue Star administrator. Actually, this is a battle for world consciousness. The Blue Star administrator gave a very fantasy answer in a calm tone. This time, no one interrupted. Because they all need an answer. A satisfactory answer. The administrator of Blue Star Heavenly Dynasty continued. Since the open beta started, have you all encountered players from another world? Actually, they all come from parallel worlds. The parallel paradise is the product of the consciousness of the major parallel worlds. All players were shocked. The mysterious parallel paradise is actually generated by world consciousness. Then when players enter it, is it the consciousness of the world that controls them and kills each other inside? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 1086. Players sit in the square. The Blue Star administrator recognized a mechanical light ball the size of an egg in his hand. The mechanical light ball flew into the sky and projected a video. While watching the scenes in the video, players listened to the Blue Star administrator continue to tell the truth behind the parallel paradise. A long time ago, only one, maybe a few, world consciousnesses were born. They lived in peace and harmony, each nurturing their own world. But slowly, as time turns, more and more world consciousnesses are born. They need to breed their own world, the world they control, and breed intelligent creatures, so as to continuously generate the origin of the world and give back. Give the world awareness. Not all world consciousnesses can successfully give birth to their own world. The premise is that they need enough world origin. Parallel paradise is actually equivalent to an ownerless world origin cake. After hearing this, the players also learned a few things. Where there are interests, there will be competition. If the world consciousness does not personally fight for it, then these beings born from the world consciousness will become pawns in the competition. Some players had a look of anger on their faces, while others were deep in thought. All worlds want to compete for the origin of the world, so parallel paradise was born. The Blue Star administrator glanced at the players below and understood the dissatisfaction and anger of the players. He was also like this back then. But later, after learning the whole truth, I had to accept it. A world that does not choose to fight will eventually collapse due to the depletion of the world's origin, and all creatures living in that world, whether dead or alive, will be completely annihilated. Upon hearing this, some players' expressions changed slightly. And the world that lost the battle is just like the wasteland copy you just experienced. It is a real world, a world that was defeated miserably in the battle station. Most of the origin of the wasteland world has been ruthlessly plundered. Those humans living in the wasteland world have caused the disaster of annihilation. Even after going through a reincarnation, the wasteland world still has not recovered. It has not even participated in the new era. You are not even qualified for one round of competition. At this time, some players couldn't help but say, then our world, once lost a trace of sadness finally appeared in the eyes of the Blue Star administrator. This sadness infected everyone. All the players' hearts trembled slightly. Lost. Their world, ever lost? And the world that lost the battle for the origin, for a moment, all players inevitably thought of the wasteland copy they had just experienced. That wasteland world was also a world that lost the battle for the origin. Lifeless. Serious pollution. There are dangers everywhere. Most of the humans living there have no hope for the future, and just live like zombies, numbly. What about their world? Their world has experienced any indelible disaster? The Blue Star administrator looked sad. Our world has lost twice. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Twice? Or lost twice? At this time, the video on the projection changed. It was originally a background of a starry universe, but now it has become a doomsday disaster movie. Meteorites are constantly falling from the sky, and the people living on the surface, players did not see humans, but instead saw a large group of dinosaurs from ancient times. On the run. Before the players could react, the Blue Star administrator threw a depth bomb. The first time was in the Jurassic period of ancient times. At that time, the leader of the Blue Star biological pyramid was a dinosaur. But because we lost, all dinosaur creatures ushered in a mass extinction. All the players were stunned. Nanny. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1087. The second time was during the mythical period thousands of years ago. At that time, the gods, immortals, monsters, and humans, all the major races lived together on the Kyushu continent. After thousands of years of fighting, the gods, immortals, monsters, and humans, withering away, the human race stands out, standing at the top of the Blue Star Pyramid, representing the world consciousness to fight for the origin of the world. In today's modern internet era, you have all kinds of mythological dramas and immortality dramas. In fact, those were all real things that Blue Star once existed. As soon as these words came out, a thought popped into the minds of all the players. Holy shit! Really? How is this possible? The administrator knew that what he said was like a fantasy to the players who had never known the truth, So he was not surprised by the various reactions of the players and continued, whether you believe it or not, this is the fact. In the blue star of that era, there were immortal cultivators in the east who could fly into the sky and escape from the earth, and various elves and mermaids in the west also existed. But because of the defeat, all the former blue star civilizations were wiped out. Only a few human races survived as fire seeds, and then slowly developed to this day. After listening to the administrator's words, the players couldn't calm down for a long time. Some players asked, so now, is it the third battle for parallel worlds? Do we represent Blue Star to fight for the origin of the world? The administrator nodded, that's right. There is still some time. If you have any questions, you can ask me now. As soon as these words came out, the players asked questions in a hurry. There are so many Blue Star players, why are we the only ones here? Where is the progress of the game now? How do we win the game? Are those dead players really dead? Is there any chance to revive them? If we fail, will our current civilization also be wiped out? Including all of us humans. 5 administrators answered questions from players. After many rounds of dungeon inspections, our overall strength or one side is the most outstanding, so we were selected and came here. Currently, the only thing left is the final decisive battle. Win the decisive battle. We can't say for sure whether we can be saved, but in the final battle, if we can get first place, maybe we can. Blue Star has entered the finals. The entire Blue Star has been saved and will not be destroyed. However, the Blue Star civilization may not be affected. Whether it is life or death is all in your hands. On a stargazing tower, Lin Wuxia looked at the immortal old man in front of him solemnly and said, so, the next dungeon will be the final decisive battle. That's right, the old man had a kind face and stood with his hands behind his back. There would have been a few more rounds, but a few worlds behind them made some small moves, and the other neutral worlds suppressed them directly. Right now, the number of competitors is greatly reduced, so we have a decisive battle in advance. This is also the reason why you are sent here. The old man's tone was full of caution, you are the boss of Miracle Red. For the following things, please pass the news on when you go back so that everyone can be prepared. Lin Wuxia nodded, okay. Even if the old man didn't mention it, Lin Wuxia still had to report it to the people above him when he returned. Then, the old man talked about several important matters one after another. The final decisive battle is divided into 2 parts. Players from all camps will guard the gate on one side to resist the invasion of other players. If they are captured by players from other camps, the entire camp will be eliminated. The other side will also look for the survival gate. The player from the camp who finds the birth gate first will be the final winner. The duty of the defending party is more difficult and dangerous than that of the seeking party. What are the specific rules for guarding the gate? Lin Wuxia asked. Each camp has only one gatekeeper, who alone faces the invasion of all players from the other camps. Hearing this, Lin Wuxia looked a little stunned. Isn't this too difficult? Lin Wuxia, I can take on the role of gatekeeper. The old man shook his head slightly, no need, the world consciousness has already found a candidate on its own. When Lin Wuxia heard this, he frowned and asked, is it reliable? The old man raised his head slightly and looked at the starry sky outside the window, we can only believe in the person appointed by the world consciousness. Seeing this, Lin Wuxia didn't know what to say and continued to ask the next question. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 1088. The main mission is completed, the copy has been cleared, and the rewards are being settled. Sutingyu opened her eyes and returned to the settlement space. The system was settling, but Sutingyu didn't bother to pay attention to the system rewards above, which were just a few game coins and points. After the settlement was completed, Sutingyu left the settlement space directly. As soon as Sutingyu went out, she saw Qin-Chi standing at her door, looking like she had been waiting for a long time. Kikai. Qin-Chi, who was leaning against the wall, stood up straight after seeing Sutingyu come out. Yes. Kikai, when the dungeon was just released, Guju, Fatty, and I went to a strange space and met the administrator of our Blue Star. Qin-Chi looked calm. Yes. Not many players go there. I haven't seen you. Have you gone? Qin-Chi shook his head. No. Hearing this, Sutingyu became even more puzzled. It's strange, even the fat man can go there, why can't you? Didn't you say that the players who go there are all very good in overall strength? Sutingyu. Boss. At this time, Gucci and Fatty, who also left the settlement space, also came to meet them. You guys are here too, just in time. Let's talk about the decisive battle. But at this time, Gucci was uncharacteristically unconcerned about the game. He looked at Sutingyu and said, Sutingyu, come with me. I have something to talk to you about. Ah, Sutingyu looked at Qin-Chi and then at the fat man. Is there anything that Gucci can't say here? Oh. Sutingyu nodded. Gucci took Sutingyu for a long distance. In a deserted corner, Gucci stopped and spoke out some of the words he had been brewing in the copy. 5 minutes later, Sutingyu stammered and asked, You are my brother. Yes, dear. Gucci added expressionlessly. Although, he was also surprised. Sutingyu's eyes widened. Wow. You. After being shocked, Sutingyu still couldn't believe it and looked at Gucci in front of him with suspicion. Guju, are you trying to trick me? This joke is not funny. Relatives? Sutingyu never thought that she would see her blood-related relatives again. Maybe I thought about it when I was a child, or wondered why I didn't have any relatives. But later, Sutingyu accidentally saw a very beautiful and fairy-like elder sister on a TV cartoon and said, I am a fairy who came down from heaven. At that time, Xiao Sutingyu seemed to have opened some novel door. Then it dawned on me. It turns out that she is a little fairy. She is also a little fairy who fell from the sky and came to save the world. That's why I have no relatives. From then on, Sutingyu never thought about her relatives again. Not lying to you. Gucci saw Sutingyu's look of confusion, and suddenly thought that this guy might think that her father and aunt had abandoned her on purpose. He couldn't help but explain, actually, your situation is a bit complicated. The head of the family didn't mean to abandon you. He has been looking for you all these years. However, although the aunt was unconscious at the time, her act of throwing away her daughter was genuine. Gucci thought about it and then lied, choosing you, that person was the one who got in the way and threw you away. Hearing this, Sutingyu's eyes widened again. Damn it! That old woman. Although Sutingyu couldn't have any deep feelings for her unfamiliar parents for a while, hearing these words didn't stop her from being very angry with Chu Xinyu. Damn it! There are unscrupulous people trying to kill the little fairy. Fortunately, the little fairy is blessed with good fortune. Humph. Is the old woman really dead? Sutingyu asked, grinding his teeth and clenching his little fists tightly. Dead. Gu nodded. After the public beta, if a player dies in the dungeon, he or she is truly dead. There's no way, that person won't die like this, right? Oh. Sutingyu was discouraged. Gucci looked at Sutingyu's expression and said tentatively, well, do you want to meet, father? After many years, this was the first time that Gucci read these two words again in front of others. I no longer even dare to think of these two words in my heart. Ah, Sutingyu's eyes suddenly became erratic. She's not ready yet. Sutingyu accepted Guju quite well after getting along with him for so long. But for a moment, Sutingyu didn't know how to feel about her father whom she had never met before. Isn't it good? So fast. With this thought in his mind, Sotingyu said it without any scruples. Seeing this, Gu changed the subject. The next round of dungeons is the final dungeon. If Blue Star loses this time, I don't know what will happen. Hearing this, Sotingyu looked startled. Perhaps. Gucci stared into Sotingyu's eyes. We will forget the memories of these 6 months. Just like those thousands of years ago, those magic arts and immortal ways disappeared into history and bloomed like 100 flowers. Will not. Sotingyu interrupted Gucci's words, his eyes firm. We will not lose. We must not lose. Sotingyu didn't want his friends to die, nor did he want the entire Celestial Dynasty, or even the entire Blue Star civilization, to disappear. Perhaps there was a lot of pain and disappointment in this world, but there were also people and things that she cherished. Sotingyu didn't want it to disappear like this. Yaguchi responded softly. It doesn't matter if you don't want to see your father for the time being. After the dungeon is over, after everything is over, there will be time for you to make a decision slowly. Sotingyu nodded, yeah,